Hi, guys, and thanks again for joining me this week on another episode with the Stitch Clip. My name is Zach. Again, I'm the inventor of the Stitch Clip. It's the world's very first hand sewing stitch guide. On a completely different topic, let me just say that I've been shooting these videos for a little while. I started last year monkeying around with the cameras and stuff. I'm out in my office, and it is so hot in this office that usually what I do is I turn on the air conditioner, I turn on the fan, and then I let it run for a while, cool the room down, and then before I shoot the video, I turn it off so that you don't hear the sound. I've recently in my editing software found that there is a voice isolation option. So the voice that you hear now, it's clear because of this. I am actually running the air conditioner and the fan right now. So this room is nice and perfect temperature wise while I'm shooting this. So just a small joy in my life that I wanted to share with everyone. So on another topic, I've had a couple of people ask me some questions about the Stitch Clip. You know, they say that they like what they see in terms of what it can do in terms of hemming pants to size, turning pants that are too short or torn up into shorts. They're asking what else can you do? So what I'd like to do today is talk about another thing it can do, which is repairs to things like shirts. This is my son's shirt, and basically, you know, shirts have a seam here, the neck hole, and the bottom. And the bottom seam has come off on his shirt. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on this camera that I have. It's a GoPro with a macro lens, so you guys can see this repair. And then just like last week, I'm going to use this handy dandy guy to give you a first person view as to what I'm seeing. And so here's the shirt. And what we've got here is at the bottom of the seam, like you can see, this is the front of the shirt, this is the back of the shirt. What you would normally have on the back side is this up and down zigzag pattern that you see here. And as you can see it here, the thread has come loose on one side and on the other, which means now this is like a little pocket where this is starting to open up. And the reason that's a problem, I mean, obviously the seam is coming out, but the real problem is the fact that if this is washed and dried a couple of times, this thing's going to start to curl. And as it curls, it's just going to pull this thread farther and farther out on the left and right side until the shirt is completely ruined. So most people would take this shirt, you know, at this point, they would either recycle it, they'd toss it, it'd end up in a landfill somewhere. And I'm saying, wait a minute, you know, I think maybe we could try to repair this. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take just a regular piece of Scotch tape, and I'm going to go to that seam, and I'm going to get that area that's curling up, and I'm just going to flatten it down so that it stays in place just like that. Okay. Now that that curl is being held down with this tape, I'm going to turn this camera off, and I'm going to switch over to my phone camera so that you guys can see what I'm doing. All right. So let me move over like I did last week, and you guys can see what's up here. All right, so I've got the camera on. This is what I'm dealing with. So I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to take my stitch clip, just like last week, and I'm going to place it onto this shirt. And what I want to do is the stitch clip, as you see, is actually wider than the problem area, which is great, which means I can take this, put it right on there, do one seam across and back with this one piece of thread, and this thing's going to be fixed. So that's what we're going to do. And what I want to do is this zigzag pattern that you see on the left and right, I want the clip to grab it in the meat of that on both sides. Take the stitch clip here, and I'm going to open it up and place it onto the shirt like so. Okay, and I've got it right centered right in the middle of that zigzag pattern up and down. Okay, then I'm going to take my threaded needle, and you know, normally you see green thread on here. I'm using green so that you guys can see it. You would obviously normally use white thread so that this would be an invisible fix, but so you guys can see it, this is what we're going to use. So I'm going to start on this side because I want the thread to be on the inside when we're done. Okay, so I'm going to pull this through almost to the end here, and I'm going to keep my finger on it so it doesn't come out, and then I'm just going to place it into the entrance hole on one side and just sew all the way from right to left. I've had a lot of people that are curious about the business and how the business is going. To be honest, it's not going that great. You know, being an entrepreneur right now, I don't know if it's because money is tight or whatever, but I'm getting a lot of encouragement on the device itself, but sales are like really miserable. And most of it is simply because, you know, I'm an engineer. I am really good at, you know, if you don't mind me tooting my own horn here, I'm really good at engineering, modeling, simulating, prototyping, that kind of thing. And getting this thing developed is really where I shine. when it comes to the marketing and the advertising, that is like a new beast to me. I don't get it. And, I've tried starting these social media pages on like Instagram and obviously here on YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that. And they are just pushing the videos so little. I'm not getting a ton of views on this stuff because I created brand new pages, which is very hard. I realize it's very hard for them to determine, is this a person or is it a bot? But as an entrepreneur, it is really not going well right now. Luckily, I didn't make any really rash decisions about quitting my job. This is, for right now, just something I'm doing on the side. I still have my full-time job. So obviously, I'm looking forward to the day when maybe this could make enough money where I wouldn't have to work. But until then, I'm just really happy that I still have my job. So anyways, back on topic here, I've taken the needle out, going to take the stitch clip off, and what I'm left with, as you see here, is a really straight threaded seam that I've created that goes from the zigzag to the zigzag in a horizontal pattern. It's going to keep this down, and it's going to keep this from ever coming up again. And then all I have to do here is take these two ends of the thread and just tie it into a knot, and we're done. Let me see if I can do that on camera to try to embarrass myself. All right. And, like I mentioned, I did this with green thread just so you guys could see it. But the truth of the matter is, when I make a repair to clothing, I don't mind if people see it because I like them to know that, I'm a thrifty individual. I can do things for myself. I don't need to, go out and buy new clothes every time something goes wrong. So that's pretty much it for this week. I just wanted to say thank you again for watching it to the end. If you watched it this far, you're obviously a little more interested in repairing clothing than you thought you were. So if you know someone else that might be in the same boat, please consider sharing this with them. I could really use another follower or, just someone to thumb it up and to say, this idea might be useful, even if it's not for them, just the idea that maybe it could help encourage someone to keep clothing out of landfills, reuse clothing. I've extended the life of this shirt by another year because this shirt that's now been repaired will be a hand-me-down for my son's younger brother because he will be growing into it. That makes me feel good, and it saves me some money. So if you're in the same boat, please consider subscribing or thumbing up the video and sharing it with others. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you next week.